Konnichiwa, Michael Malice here, back from Japan. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. And I have been waiting for this interview for weeks. Returning back to the show is national treasure Jesse Lee Peterson. He's the host of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show and The Fallen State. I promise everyone listening to this, if you are bored, and even if you are not bored, go on YouTube and watch Jesse Lee Peterson compilations, and you will have hours and hours of fun. Jesse, I was thinking about all the questions I have for you, and I think you're like the opposite of Gordon Ramsay, because Gordon Ramsay on his shows, people be messing up and he's freaking out and having a meltdown. Whereas with you, people are freaking out and you're just sitting there blinking at them, and you don't have no
I'm
anger
like,
and don't
what
get
now?
and don't get upset at all. Do,
Yeah.
do you ever look back at some of the interviews you've done and just kind of crack yourself up at how much the person that you're engaging with loses their mind?
Um, in all honesty, I don't. I tend to just keep moving forward. And once in a while, if someone needs something from me that I've interviewed someone about, I may check it out. And in all honesty, I'm a little surprised at how the people react to just a question when the answer could just be yes or no. And they get, for some reason, they become afraid just with yes or no questions. One of the questions that I have watched before because some people want some information about it is when I ask people, do they love white people? I can ask white people, I can ask black people, they could be intellectuals or preachers, and they're afraid to say, yes, I love white people. And I'm like, do you love white people? I love everybody. No, do you love white people? I love everybody. And then some people are like, this is a trick question. And some people say, well, I'm afraid to answer that because I might seem like a racist. Even white people have said that to me.
Yeah.
And to me, that's amazing.
Okay, so I got a few Jesse Lee Peterson style questions to ask you.
Let me
So
ask you
you
something first, if you don't mind.
sure, of course.
Did you say, and then don't forget, you say you just came back from China or somewhere?
Japan.
How was it?
It to use as you would put it, it was amazing.
Oh, nice.
I was very lucky because I had friends who lived there, and it was really they're a lot friendlier than people say. Everyone thought I thought, they're supposed to be all serious. They had a good sense of humor, friendly, very clean, lots to do, and it also makes me angry as a former New Yorker because you look at a city as big as Tokyo and you realize the stuff happened in our cities. You're in Los Angeles as well. You realize this isn't happening by accident. It's maybe it's not easy, but it's simple what needs to be done. If someone is, punching an old lady in the face and trying to kidnap a kid, why is he on the street? This is not some kind of sophisticated question about, oh, let's raise the marginal tax rate on investment and blah blah blah. You punching old people on the street, you should not be on the street. This is very very simple, and I think this is very known by the powers that be. So one of the reasons I moved from New York City to Austin is to get away from this kind of madness. I'm sure you're seeing yourself in Los Angeles.
Yeah. No, these issues could easily be resolved if the government and the people in charge wanted to. They want these things to happen. They deliberately create problems so that we could be fighting amongst one another, divide the races. They want people afraid and they
Yes,
want to control you. And it's all about themselves. They could care less about we, the people. It's all about themselves. They could shut the borders down. They could bring back the police. They could bring back Bill's bond. They should stop locking the people up if they wanted to. They don't want to, Michael. They want us out of control. You can't control people when they're in control, when they have self control. You have to make them angry and afraid in order to control them. And that's
and
why they're doing it.
and dependent.
Yes.
Because if I'm in New York and I don't have a weapon to protect myself, and I know if I protected myself, I'm gonna be the one going to jail, right?
Yeah.
If someone breaks in my house, I have to depend on the government to keep me safe. And once that happens, freedom is it's a joke.
It's over, man. I saw a report the other night where they were thinking about legalizing ecstasies, those mushroom stuff and psychedelic drugs. And they wanna do that because they want the people crazy, they want them out of their minds, they want them committing crimes, and if we overreact to the crime, they're gonna lock us up for trying to protect ourselves, as you just said. Absolutely.
So, you know how if you stand in front of a mirror and there's a mirror behind you, it's like a reflection, there's like an infinite hallway of mirrors. I got a few Jesse Lee Peterson style questions to ask you. So let's see
Okay.
what happens when the script gets flipped. Okay.
Amazing.
Okay. Do you love all people?
I do. I love all people, even my enemy.
Do you love radical black lesbians who founded Black Lives Matter? Do you love them?
I absolutely do. I love the radical fat black lesbians. Absolutely.
Uh, Here's another one. Jesse, you are closer in age to Joe Biden than to your average audience member, but you look like you're in your late 40s or early 50s. Why is it that the blacks age so well?
Because black don't crack.
No, but do you ever think about that? Like, why is it you look so young? And, is that something that you're grateful for? You think that's your family?
I absolutely am grateful for that. But in all honesty, when I look in the mirror, I don't see that I look so young. And I don't see like a real old wrinkled up person either, right?
Sure.
But I don't see that I look so young because my skin is softer, it's not as tight as it used to be. My eyes are starting to look like my father's eyes. And I remember when he started getting old, his eyes went to a different location. I'm like, what the? But I don't see myself as getting old. But I think when they said that the black people they can handle the sunlight better than the whites and others, and so I guess that has something to do with it. But I have always worked on myself. I've always worked out. I try to eat the right way. If I see myself putting on a little weight, I go out there to take it off. I run a little bit. I work out at the gym. And not only do I work on my spiritual life, I'm always working on my physical life, and I've always been that way. I used to pick cotton, and picking cotton was the best exercise. Have you ever picked cotton?
I'm from Brooklyn. What do you think? I pick up the check at the restaurant sometimes.
And so growing up in Alabama, I grew up active, working the fields and
Yeah.
doing different things, and I just always taking care of myself. It's just natural for me to do it.
Here's my
And
last
I don't have anger.
Yeah, that's true. That is really a big one. If
Yeah,
you this is just if you are someone who is calm with themselves and your lot in life, and you don't get your heart rate worked up all the time over the stupid, stupid stuff, it
right.
really is a good way to keep looking young because it's just you're like living faster when you get all agitated.
Yes, absolutely. We have reported on anger. And anyone that has anger, anger is evil. It's pure evil. There's no love in it. There's nothing but evil. It's dark. And anger affects the whole entire body, the cells, the bones, the mental state. You overreact to things, and so anger is not good at all. There's nothing but evil because it's not of God. Period. And I don't want the Christians telling me, oh, well, Jesus was angry. But Jesus did not have human anger. Jesus discerned evil, but he did not get angry. He just dealt with it. But anger is not good, man, at all. It destroys everything.
And I agree with you that it's also womanly in the sense of someone who is consumed by anger is not in control of their emotions. And they get hysterical, whether it's a man or a woman. Not all women, are acting that way. Some are better than others, and many, many men, you see them freaking out, and it's just like, what is going on here? It's just like you're acting like not just a female, but like a hysterical female.
That's right. Any male that has anger is a woman. He has a female mentality and emotions because he has his mother's identity. When he was a kid, she imposed her will on him either by being too nice and mothery, which is evil, or overbearing, which is evil, and turning him away from his father, which is evil. And the moment he became angry as a kid, he lost his innocence and he took on the identity of his mother. And so that's why men get angry, they overreact, they're very emotional because they have their identity of the mother. That's why they must return to the father. And the mothers do it to the girls too, but with the men, it's abnormal for men to be that way. But they must return to the father by forgiving their mothers for imposing her will, making them angry, and forgive their fathers for not protecting them from the mother because he ended up with a woman that was just like his mother, and he could not handle her. But once you forgive, I'm sorry for being angry at you. I realize that you couldn't help yourself. God will forgive you. Then he would take those evil spirits away from you. He would change your heart from anger to love.
I've got my last Jesse style question. You've often said that in in the household it should be God over the father, then the mother, then the children. How can the father be over the mother when gender doesn't exist?
And, good question. Amazing question. But it comes from God through Christ through the man, right? To the woman. Love comes from above, not from below. Women get their love from below, which is from the devil and it's evil. It's not love, it's hate. Because the gates of hell come through the woman. They don't have love, they only have hate. And they receive love from their father. If they don't get it from their earthly father, unless they forgive him and return to God, they have to get it from their husband. And let's say the husband is still weak. They can go around the husband by forgiving him, and they could go to God themselves. But women do not have love to give; they only have hate, and they're looking for love in the man. When they get with a man, they're really looking for him to bring them out of their hell. But because the man has not overcome his mother, he's trying to get love from the woman, and the woman trying to get love from him, and all you have is a war on hand. And so you're right. We are a spirit. Men, all human beings are spirit. We're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions. We're not our bodies. We are a spirit created in the image of God. And we live in these bodies so that we can navigate on earth, but we are not our bodies at all. And that's why I tell people don't identify with your thoughts. All thoughts are all lies all the time, the so called good ones and the bad ones. And don't identify with your body, don't identify with your emotions. Then you will start living because when you stop identifying with these false identity, you would then start your real self will appear and you start living from your true self, not the fake self.
And it's also a good strategy because I know in many cases I've been in arguments with people, maybe it's work, friends, or something like that. And if I'm keeping myself calm, and it's actually kind of easy because when you see the other person get worked up, you're like, "Do I don't want to act like this." You know, you see they look like a buffoon, but then if you stay calm, they get more and more agitated. Then they start losing control. They'll say stupid things. They'll embarrass themselves, but you are both you take on the leadership role because you're keeping the environment calm and cool, and anyone watching this is going to be like, okay, I'm going to side with that person who's being civil and sane as opposed to the person pitching a fit.
Yeah.
And it's also just better, strategically, because if you're just thinking things through instead of just blurting out things you shouldn't have, you're going to regret it later.
Well, the one thing I've come to understand is when I'm doing the show and I'm noticing that people are overreacting, I realize it's not them, but it's the spirit that made a home in them, in their imagination and emotion. They don't know that it's not them because they have identified with it, thinking that it is them. But I know it's not them. And so I don't judge them for it. I understand it. And that's why I don't take it. Another reason I don't take it personally,
Right.
because I realize they cannot help themselves. They literally can't help it.
Folks, springtime is here, and there is no better time to have a fresh start and break your old habits. And I'm talking about our sponsor, Fume. They look at the problem in a different way. Not everything that's a bad habit is wrong. So instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? And I'm talking about something that I can't get too specific about that a lot of people do starting in high school and gives them long-term health consequences. What Fume helps with that because it's an innovative, award-winning flavored air device. Instead of vapor, fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting. So your fingers have something to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking that bad habit. Their newest thing is the Solano fume. It's made with a premium walnut barrel and an onyx-coated mouthpiece, which has a slightly softer finish. Fume looks cool, it feels cool, and it tastes like drinking refreshing herbal tea. Some people said that. So start your spring off right with the good habit by going to tryfume.com/malice. That's tryfum.com/malice and getting the journey pack today. Fume is giving listeners of the show 10% off when they use my code malice to help make starting the good habit that much easier. Start the good habit at tryfume.com/malice to save 10% off the journey pack today. Let's get back to the show. So broadly speaking, you're a black conservative, but that word is not precise because Larry Elder's a black conservative, Candace Owens, so on and so forth. But when people have you on the panel, they'll have you as kind of this black conservative position. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. And I've seen so many episodes of these shows where you're just sitting there patiently, and then you start dropping your bombs. And both the host, it's funny, the other guests will start freaking out, but then the host starts losing his mind. Is this something that you're kind of sitting there like biding your time, waiting to just kind of flip over the table rhetorically, so to speak?
Wow, that's another good question. Are you Jewish or white?
I am both. I am Jewish and white. Yes.
Amazing. Another good both sides of you. That's a good question.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Mike, I always wait and see what's gonna happen.
Okay.
I never think ahead. I never plan what I'm gonna say or not say. I really have a wait and see attitude about whole life now, about everything. Because one situation the people could be freaking out. In another situation, people could be receiving the help from it. It may
Sure.
help them, right? And so I never have I always have a wait and see attitude. I just deal with whatever's happening right then and there. So I don't know what's going to happen until it does happen.
I saw an interview you did not that long ago where it was a woman. She calls herself a reverend, I believe, and she was there to talk about her book about courage. And of course, you made her. You didn't. I'm sorry. I don't want to say you made her run away, but she ended up running away because she couldn't handle your questions. And your questions were very calm. You're not yelling at her. You're not interrupting her. You're letting her speak. And she didn't want you to air it. And then later she's like, "I'll send you the kind of questions that are acceptable." How do people like this end up on your show without knowing what they're getting themselves into?
I have an amazing producer,
Okay.
and he knows how to somehow know how to invite them on. But some of the people they have watched the show before coming on, right? And so I've had people who are totally rejected coming. They're like, "Nope, I'm not coming on." And especially liberals, they
Yes, of
want to
course.
come on if they watch the show first. But there's some people they want to promote their books or whatever it is. They take a risk and come anyway because their ego selling their books mean more than anything else to them. So they'll come for that reason.
Or they probably think they're gonna put you in your place because 'cause you're dumb, they're smart in their
Yeah,
minds, and
and
what
they
just you wait till I get on the show, I'll show him. Yeah.
absolutely, especially with the women. Um, and they know that I'm black and slow. They know I'm black and slow, so they think they can, I guess, outsmart me or something.
Let's talk about President Trump, who you very famously called the Great White Hope. I saw some interviews you did fairly recently, and it seems you are not as hopeful about his prospects as you were in the past. Is that an accurate impression that I've gotten? He's got the doll.
And yes, together we will make America great again.
Is that your answer? How many dolls? Jesse, playing with dolls, that's woman behavior. Beta!
No.
Beta! No, but I'm
No,
sure you're
these are dots that people have been sending me over the period. But no, I still have strong belief that Donald Trump will get in, and again, I'll wait and see, but I still believe that he will get in, and I know that once he gets in, he's gonna make America great again. But again, I'm having a wait and see attitude, and the reason for that is because the Democrats, the right or Republicans, the liberal media, and our enemies from abroad, overseas, they don't want Donald Trump to get in. They do not want him, and I just don't know what they between now and then, I don't know what they would do to stop him. You know, they've done some horrible things and are doing horrible things, so I'm still waiting to see, but I still support him 100%. The Great White Hope is the best for America. Our enemy know it, and I still feel like I want him there. I definitely want him in there, but I'm having a wait and see attitude because
It
from last time I saw what they did, and I see the desperation right now, and I just don't know what's going to happen between now and then.
it seems like, just, people have this idea that any kind of criticism of Trump is full-blown TDS, and I don't really blame them necessarily for having that attitude because so much of the criticism is absurd. But one of my concerns is it seems pretty normalized in DC that if he becomes president again, the people who are running Washington in the different bureaucracies and agencies, well, can just feel free to just ignore what he wants and do whatever they want, and not only not have consequences, but they're going to actually be, valorized for it. I remember the military lied to him when he was commander in chief about what was going on, I believe, in Syria, and the media were just like how wonderful this was. Which, if it was any other president, this would be an enormous constitutional crisis.
Yeah. I hope that he get in, but I know that once he does get in, and if he does, they're gonna try every trick in the
Yeah,
book to make sure he does not succeed. But I believe now that this is his second time around, he understand the insides now of government. He understand the people who work in government even better, more so. And then people that he kept in government before, like the people who worked for the fallen Messiah, Barack Obama. I don't think he's gonna trust a lot of those people, and I think he's gonna start out with a new order of people and get rid of some of his enemies. So I think he'll be able to do better because he'll take out more of those people rather than meaning having them removed than doing that. And he knows that the military, the ones that are running the military, are lying to him too. So I think he has a better and clearer understanding. So he'll do even better this time than before.
yeah, and I think another ray of hope for a second Trump presidency is if you're like a Rex Tillerson or one of these, like, establishment people, you're not going to want to work for this guy because they're going to go after your family, your career, your reputation will be tarnished, which means you're going to have to hire the crazies, so called. Well, the crazies are the ones who are going to get things done. They're the ones who are like, I don't care about DC. I'm not trying to make friends here. I want to, move this in a MAGA direction. But those are the people that you would want in a Trump administration because you don't want, a bunch of Mike Pences.
That's right, man. Another thing that I see this time around that I didn't see as much before with Donald Trump, you have a lot of blacks, especially black men, who are supporting him this time around.
Yeah.
And they're saying it out loud. Many of them are saying out loud that they support Donald Trump, and 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 the Democrats are living in fear about that. And even some black women, even in my own family, Michael, there are black Americans who have said, family members who have said, I was born a Democrat. I'm going to die a Democrat. They're starting to change their tune too. And they're now supporting Donald Trump. And I was stunned. But when I asked why, they said, look, I'm paying out all this money for everything now. Everything's so expensive, gas prices, the crime in the black communities had gone, it was already bad. But it gone through the roof because a lot of the illegals that are coming in, they're ending up in the inner cities, in the black communities, and they're fighting with the black gang members and things like that. So crime going out of control. And the people are feeling this, the blacks are feeling this. And also the black men tell me that they noticed that the Democratic Party seemed to choose the women over them
Yeah, oh,
to
yeah.
run for office and stuff like that. They always, for the most part, pick the women to uh, run things, and they don't like that at all. They're offended by that as well.
What people don't appreciate is that for 70 years from the end of the Civil War to FDR, blacks voted, I think, close to 100% Republican. It was the party of Lincoln. People who think now, oh, blacks will always vote for Democrats. That's not true historically at all. What I wanted to ask you about, though, is something. I'm glad you brought that up. It is interesting, and this is the first time in decades. Not there are more black people who are voting Republican, but it is very much a gender divide, meaning it is the people voting for Trump is going to be the black males, but the black women are hook, line, and sinker for Joe Biden and Officer Harris. Why do you think that is, from your opinion?
Because they know that women are not logical, they're emotional. And you can just stroke their egos and get what you want from them. And so they have made the black woman feel that she's better than the man. And that started, as far as I'm aware, it started with the so-called civil rights movement, and which was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks, other than abortion. Martin Luther King and all those people came in and they set themselves up as leaders over the blacks. But then they told the woman they agreed that she could get welfare, she could get a free chat, which made her at some point feel that she didn't need a man. And
Right.
so they've been kind of stroking the black woman's ego for the last 70 years in order to get the votes to control them, because they knew that for the most part they were controlling the black men. And so that's why they're doing it. And they know the woman is evil and she doesn't mind destroying. And so they're using the black woman for that as well. But they're stroking her ego in order to control her.
You've said this several times, and I'd love to hear an explanation. I'm sure you've given it elsewhere. You've said the civil rights movement is the worst thing to happen to black people, other than abortion. How is it worse than slavery?
Well, prior to the civil rights movement, as you know, I grew up in Alabama. I grew up on a plantation down there. My parents and their parents and their parents and others grew up there in the same plantation. And during those days, black people didn't hate white people. They knew that it was a spiritual battle. And they taught all the way up through my generation that we should not hate anyone. We should treat all people the way that we would like to be treated. There were white people who knew this too. And so those who knew it was a spiritual battle, they got along. But those who had hatred of the heart, they did not get along, black or white. But we were taught to work. We were taught to save our money, to buy land, and to be independent thinkers and be independent people. And so when my parents were growing up, they taught that to us, and and I've taught it to my kids, my son, and others. But we were taught that way, so it wasn't in my mind to think that way. And the reason that it would uh, the civil rights movement is worse than slavery because the black so-called leaderships, along with the radical liberal whites, they control the blacks by telling them the white man is against you. You can't do it on your own. You need our help. You need affirmative action. You need reparations. We got to always give to you because racism is holding you back. And so mentally and emotionally, they enslaved the blacks. And until this day, most of them are still enslaved mentally. Whereas before, the blacks were not enslaved mentally during slavery. But that's what's going on now. And mental slavery is worse than physical slavery.
You're sounding a bit like Malcolm X when he talks about how white liberals are the biggest enemy of worse than actual openly racist people because they kind of have this smile on their face, but they're going to do more harm. I'm curious on your thoughts as to him because he certainly seems to me, at least, although I agree with a lot of what he says in terms of having dignity and independence and not looking for other communities to kind of help you. But he does seem to be a man who had a lot of anger.
Yeah, he did. And like anyone else, it started in the homes and with his parents and things like that. But when he went off to prison, according to the reports I've read and I've written about, is that when he went to prison, he went there an angry man, angry at the whites and blaming others. But he met up with Louis Farrakhan people, the Muslim, but the Louis
Yeah.
Farrakhan Muslim. And they started brainwashing him, telling him about slavery and what the white man had done. and how bad things were for the blacks. And he started to believe that lie. And once you believe in a lie, it's hard to believe the truth until you're ready to believe the truth. And so he came out with real anger because he's now blaming white people for his problem rather than seeing that it started in the home. So he was angry and he was thinking that all white people were that way and blah, 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 right? Until he went over to Mecca. And when he went to Mecca, he saw all races over there. And he didn't know that white people, paraphrasing, but he didn't know that white people and blacks and others were getting along. So he came back with a different attitude about that. And so he started according to the reports, to overcome his anger. Then he found out that the Muslim people that he was a part of, they were against him. They were not living up to what they said, right? So he became angry about that. And one thing just led to another one.
Folks, sperm counts are dropping worldwide, and today the average man is only half as fertile as his grandfather was. Now, scientists think that's due to a variety of factors, including the obesity epidemic, diet, and pollution. 1 in 10 men have a low sperm count. 1 in 6 couples will experience infertility, and 50% of those cases are attributable to sperm. Many such cases. Sperm quality peaks around age 30, then declines 1% each year. And contrary to conventional wisdom, not every man can produce healthy children at any age. By age 45, men have 6 times the risk of infertility or producing a child with birth defects or neurological issues such as autism. Vasectomies are reversible in only about 30% of cases. It's a good idea to freeze sperm before a vasectomy in case you change your mind. So, you should get your sperm tested, and here's where Legacy comes in. Legacy provides sperm testing and freezing from home, eliminating the need for visits to a doctor or traditional fertility clinic. Here's how it works. Legacy sends a sample collection kit to a client's home. Men produce a sample at home, send the kit back within 24 hours. The kit contains transport media that keeps the sperm sample fresh until it arrives at the lab. The samples analyzed at a lab, and sperm health results are securely sent to the phone within 48 hours of mailing the sample. And if a client chooses to freeze their sperm, the sample is split and securely stored in 2 locations to protect it from natural disasters. It's time to take your future into your own hands. Testing and freezing your youngest, healthiest sperm keeps all your future options open. Legacy offers sperm testing and freezing you can do 100% from home. To see if sperm testing and freezing is right for you, visit givelegacy.com and use promo code Malice for 10% off. That's GIVE legacy.com, promo code Malice. I think this is a great idea. Let's get back to the show. Are you, as someone who's a proud Republican, are you not looking forward to the idea of Kamala Harris being president in the sense that she'd be so bad at it that everyone's going to be voting Republican?
Everybody and their mama will become a Republican. No, we don't need her anymore, man. She's an empty shell, just like Joe Biden. And I believe personally they only use her because she was a black female.
Oh, sure. They said that explicitly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so they needed to have her for the vote to get the votes from the other black women, but they knew she's not going to be a good vice president or president. Look at what a rough time they're having with it now. They don't want, even the Democrats don't want her to run because they know she won't make it. She's just, she's empty. She has no clue about anything.
And she's always laughing for no reason. It is amazing. Do you know? Is it not fun sometimes for you watching her and being like, this is like a complete dummy?
I remember when she was interviewed and they asked her if she smoked pot.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I smoked pot before. And they're like, why? Because it just feels good. It was like a cackling hen. And it is amusing to see her. It's hard to, I understand it, but it's hard to believe that someone can be that dumb. But I do understand it.
Well, I don't know if you know there's even more to that story, which is after she talked about that pot stuff, her dad, who's Jamaican, went public and said, on behalf of the Jamaican part of your family, this is disgusting for you to kind of stereotype us as these kind of pot smoking, Rasta people. I'm a college professor. I'm highly educated, so on and so forth. And what else people don't realize is, even though he's a professor living in DC, he didn't go to the inauguration. He didn't want to. Your own daughter is being sworn in first female vice president. He's like, I don't even want to see that.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that story, and, um, and I'm like, right on for the father. He's able to correct her. At least he's trying to correct her when she's wrong. But I do remember hearing that. Do you know that there are a lot of blacks who don't even know who she is?
What do you mean?
They don't know who the vice president is,
Oh, wow. Okay.
especially the young Z's and millennial blacks. And then, and if they know who she is, they don't support her at all. They see that she's an empty shell. She has done nothing good for the black community, whatever that means. And so they're not for her at all. But a lot of them don't even know who she is.
I think her biggest support, if I had to guess, would be liberal white women who they can feel like, "Oh, look, I've got a black friend and girl power and all this girl boss nonsense." But if you ask them, what do you like about her? They'll just rattle off BS and not really have anything to say.
Absolutely, man. And you're right about that. I saw a report that said that her best friends, the people who like her the most, are liberal white females.
Yeah.
More so than even more so than the black females in that when you compare the 2, but you're absolutely right about that. It's the liberal white females.
So one of the best investments I have ever made in my life and has paid off 1,000,000 to 1 is I donated money to John Fetterman because I wanted him in the Senate. At the very least, I thought it'd be funny. And my hope, which still might happen, is that one day he just snaps and starts breaking people's necks all over the Senate floor like the Hulk on a rampage and just leaves carnage all over the Senate floor. Are you as much of an admirer of Senator Fetterman as a Democrat as I am?
That is one story I haven't been able to figure out yet. I don't even know how they or why they voted for that guy, man. I just don't know how that happened. I thought it was bad enough when they voted Joe Biden there, but when they voted this guy who appeared to be off mentally, he had some type of something going on there. He was dressed like a little thug, hoodie, and it was mind blowing to see that. I just don't know how that happened. But you know what happened though? I believe I saw a report recently where he's urging. Now I may be wrong. You may want to correct me on this one. Where he's urging our governments to support Israel.
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so. And do you know what's even funnier is that there were protesters about this, and he goes, "Joke's on you. I had a stroke. I can't understand you."
Oh, nice. But when I saw that, though, I'm like, they're gonna run him out of there now that he spoke out like that.
Well,
But
he also said that he's against squatters' rights. He said it's ridiculous that squatters do not have any rights. If someone owns a home, it's their home. And for a Democrat to say that, which is common sense, is I think very healthy. He also denounced Senator Menendez, who's a fellow Democrat, and publicly mocked him for taking bribes. I think these are very healthy things that you would want in a thriving Democratic Party.
absolutely. So, is he over the stroke or something? He got his mind back?
It's from my understanding is, and who knows how if they're telling the truth, you know what I mean? Like, they could say he's fine and just they say Joe Biden's fine, and meanwhile, he's pooping his pants in front of the Pope, right? But he they said that it's affecting his speech a little bit, but mentally, he's pretty much there. Who knows if that's true? I don't think mentally look at Dianne Feinstein towards the end, she didn't even know where she was, and
Right.
her staff was doing all the work.
Yeah. But I'm surprised with him being a Democrat and he feels to be a liberal Democrat that he would say all these things out loud. And I am surprised that his wife would let him do it
Yeah.
because he married to a little Mexican or something, right?
Well, there's or she I think she's either Italian or Mexican, but there's one theory that he's doing this just to spite her. Like, she was the one who was all like, "Not for Israel." He's like, "Screw you, I'm the senator, I'm gonna wave the Israeli flag." So if
Really?
that's yeah, so that's one hypothesis that's been going around, that this is just him being spiteful to his annoying wife.
Wow. And so all these things that he is saying right now, so s- so are you saying that that's real or not real?
I don't care, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The politician who, I
Yeah,
mean, we're talking about a senator. If he's, I don't care. I'll take what
that's
if someone
right.
is saying against squatters for, saying I'm not progressive. I'm, being for gun rights. I don't know what he said about that. He was complaining that China's owning too much property in the United States. I don't care if it's fake. I'll take what I can get in DC.
I know what you mean. And I was stunned, Michael, when I found out that squatters can move into your home. You're selling a house, and that they can move in if it's empty. Um, I'm being told that his wife was an illegal alien, according to Wikipedia, and she's from Brazil. I'm being told, but I didn't know that in America that squatters can just walk in off the street, move into your place, and you have to spend money going to court. The police can come out and they want to arrest them or put them out, anything. I didn't know that that could happen in America,
Well,
and I didn't know it was legal that they
hold on.
protect the
It's
squatters and not
even
the owner.
it's even worse than you think. It's illegal to turn off the utilities on them. It's illegal to change the locks. And there was just one story in New York where they were trying to do something and the cops arrested the homeowners.
Wow.
And when you look at this, you're like, again, this isn't by accident. And this is such an inversion of just basic, in my opinion, civilization that there's not really any discussion to be had. This has to be fought. This is not, oh, rich people should pay more in taxes so that people could have housing. I could wrap my head around that argument. This is something, a whole other thing.
I've learned more about it because my producer Sean has been giving me a lot of information on it, and I've been seeing it on the news too. But I had no idea. I didn't know it was a law, and so there is a law that protect in America that protect the squatters, right?
It depends on the state and the city, but yes, it's called squatters' rights. And basically, the idea is if I'm in your house for X amount of time and you haven't been there, I have now some kind of like a foothold in your home. And there's situations where the guy was like living in the attic in a woman's house and she couldn't evict him. It had to be months and months of nonsense.
Was she living there too?
Yes, there are situations like that as well.
What?
And you sit and you're just like, this can't happen. Again, people think that the left or the Democrats, broadly speaking, are dumb. This isn't what dumb people do. It can only be done by design and with an
Yeah,
ideology and a philosophy. Because
yeah.
a dumb person, if they make a mistake, which we all do, they'll be like, "Oh, I made a mistake. Let me fix it right away. I'm sorry." Not doubling down.
Amazing. I know this realtor here in LA, and so he bought this house and was fixing it up so he can sell it or give it to his daughter or something. And so this squatter went and moved in, and he ran him off and put boards around the windows and around the doors. The squatter came back and pulled the boards off, tore them down, and moved back in. And then he called the police, and the squatter like, "Call the police. I'm not going anywhere." And the police came and they said, "There's nothing we can do about this. You got to go
Wow.
to court. We can't do anything about it." And so what the guy did, he ran the squatter off and he parked the car in the driveway so it looked like someone was living there. And the squatter destroyed the car, broke out the windows. The neighbor would park over, next door there
Yeah,
to
yeah.
look like someone, and they destroyed the person's car. And the squatter still moved into the house.
But how did the story end?
It's still happening.
Oh my God.
And that's been some months right now. They're still fighting it right now.
How are you've been in LA for many years now at this point. They're thinking of things that I'm sure you never imagined that would have never happened, like, you laugh, but it's things like this
Yeah.
or the open drug everywhere and, like, tents the whole street. I mean, how are you holding on? I mean, you could do your show from anywhere. Like, what is keeping you in Los Angeles?
Well, one of the things for now is that we're waiting for the economy situation to change. We were going to
Okay.
move to Florida,
Okay.
but then when we first were going to move, the Chinese virus happened.
Yeah, the Kung flu.
And so what happened, everything shut down. We were looking around LA, Orange County, Cover City area for a building, but then everything stopped. And so we decided to wait. And then when the Chinese virus slipped away, I think, the economy went down in Florida and everywhere. The prices of a building just went sky high, skyrocket. And so even the realtor that I'm working with told me, hey, you need to wait because these prices are double now. Just wait. So we kind of wait and see what happened with that.
Well, I'm here in Austin, and the rents are now dropping by double digits. So if you'd ever think of moving here, I'm sure you'd be welcomed with open arms.
How do
It's
you
terrific.
like it there?
I have a gun. I have a gun under my bed, right? Because I'm from Brooklyn, and I had to live in fear of being burglarized.
Yeah.
I don't have that fear anymore. It's smaller than New York, but I was just in New York a couple weeks ago to do Andrew Schultz's show, and you talked about when you first moved to Los Angeles, there was this sense of hope in the air
Yes.
energy, and there were
It was
jobs, things to do.
paradise. Yeah.
Yes, there's no sense of hope or excitement in New York. New
Right.
York for a long time, even like when it was bad, there was this idea of like, all right, we're miserable together, we're making something happen. But Jesse, during COVID, and I think this was intentionally or not intentionally, whatever, all the small stores that was like, my grandfather came over from Sicily, and now it's a sausage store or a pizzeria or a fruit stand. They couldn't survive. So 2008, you have a banking collapse, and we bail out all the banks. Now this vitamin store that's been there since the 70s goes out of business, destroys a family's livelihood. There's no life preserver for them, So this is obviously an intentional choice of policy. So when you destroy small and medium businesses, what are you left with? Target, Kmart, and all these big things. But you could have that anywhere. That's not what makes New York, New York. So it's by purpose, on purpose, and it's also, New York always had a reputation for being dirty, which is true, but it wasn't this dirty when I was there. It's just everywhere, and especially after going back to Japan and seeing how clean it is there, you realize again this is on purpose. They're making certain choices.
Of course, 100%. How concerned are you that they're trying to turn Texas blue and by allowing all the illegals and things to come in, and they're desperately working on changing Texas? How concerned are you about that?
What I am very concerned about, and I'm sure you agree, is if Biden loses the election, right? He loses November 5th. The new president, President Trump, or whoever the Republican nominee might be, is sworn in January 20th or whatever. So there's like 2 or 3 months in between. I'm concerned Biden will just give amnesty to all these people because then they'd be voters, and
Yeah,
then there's nothing you could do about it. And why wouldn't he? You know what I mean? He's got all the
agree.
incentives. He'd be called a hero by every media outlet in America. One of the things that I think is kind of foolish, maybe I don't know if foolish is the word for Trump. If Trump is talking about mass deportation, then Biden's going to say, "Oh, I'd have a choice." He's going to come in and take mothers away from their babies and
Yeah,
blah 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 blah. We know the speech.
yeah,
So I have to give these people a sense of safety in their home, blanket amnesty, and I don't know how to work around this.
that's amazing. What a mess.
Do
Uh,
you not think that's the case, though? Are you
Oh
not
yeah,
concerned about that?
I am very concerned. And again, I wouldn't put anything past this administration,
Right.
what they won't do to maintain so-called power and money. They have already proven that they do not put America first. And so they want power, Michael. And I just wouldn't be surprised what they would do.
This is Walk-Ins Welcome with Bridget Pedicy.
I love hearing people's stories of resilience and grit. This is why I created this podcast.
We are very excited to welcome Jim Gaffigan, Yasmin Mohammed, Glenn Beck, Tim Dillon, Abigail Schreier, Jeff Garland, Ayan Hirsi Ali, Sam Harris, Heather Hying,
Jonah Goldberg,
Ben Shapiro, Glenn Greenwald, Sarah Shahi, Colin Quinn.
if there's a culture of victimhood, then let's tell stories of grit and survival.
Subscribe and listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's get back to the show. What I'm hopeful about is this idea of Texas declaring its independence again. Although it was really kind of funny, there was a guy here in the Texas legislature who put forth a bill to have that as a referendum for Texans to be able to vote on it. So he put forth the bill on a Monday. That Tuesday, I happened to be on Joe Rogan's show, the biggest podcast, and I talked about it there. So I got it national attention. And then a few months later, he had to resign because he got one of his interns drunk and was trying to sleep with her, this teenage girl. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Just can I just get one politician who isn't just purely of the devil?
What the?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Are you are you not I know the answer, but I wanna hear your thoughts. You must be also extremely concerned how much the Republican Party is doing whatever they can to maintain their power and not have Trump and his kind of thinking, because they're sitting pretty, right? They're the Chamber of Commerce people. They don't care about the illegal immigrants because that'll be people that they can hire.
Right.
He upsets their whole sweetheart deal they've had the Democrats for 100 years at this point. Are you not concerned that they're gonna do a lot to undermine Trump behind the scenes?
100% I'm concerned. I do not trust the Republican representative at all. Donald Trump is the only one in the Republican Party that I trust at this point. I've seen what they would do. I've seen how they're trying to stop the president. I have seen how they have agreed with the Democrats on Ukraine and so many other issues. All they have done is hold this little meeting going after Joe Biden and his son. They have not stood up for anything else, and they have gone along with the Democrats. So I know that the Republican Party is not the party that I became a part of. It has changed, and I do not trust them at all. Also, if Donald Trump should get in, and I believe he will, they're going to do everything they can to try to stop him too.
Of course.
They're not the friends of Donald Trump, believe me, and I believe Donald Trump know that. So I'm absolutely concerned about that. They do a lot of fundraising. The Republican Party, I don't send them a dime, man, not one dime. I only will help Donald Trump, but I'm not helping any of those representatives because they're no good. I'm even a little concerned about Marjorie Taylor. Besides me, I don't believe that women should be in leadership role anyway. They were not created to lead; they were created to follow. But since you were there, I'm thinking, you know what? I thought maybe she would be someone you can trust a little bit, but I'm not even sure about her anymore. So Donald Trump right now is the only one I trust in the Republican Party.
What's made you change your opinion on Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Well, she's talking about different things, but I haven't really seen any success from her yet.
Okay.
Talk come cheap. Talk is easy. And I just have all this time, I haven't seen any success out of her yet. What do you think about her?
I think she's great only because I'll take, like I said earlier, I'll take what I can get. And anyone who is this obnoxious and aggressive with the press and has them clutching their pearls every day, if I can't, have what I want, at the very least, I'll take the sitcom and get a good laugh out of it, right? So you know what I mean? Like it's kind of it's scraps, but it's something. But I'm not under the impression that this is going to do anything other than
Right.
provide me a cheap laugh.
Do you know of anything she's succeeded? And you're right. It's funny how she did with the liberal press and
Yes.
even the other representatives, the liberal representatives. Oh, one thing that kind of threw me off is when Joe Biden did his last State of the Union speech address, and she was yelling out those things and she was acting that way. I didn't like that because young people looking. And the one thing that when I was growing up, the one thing that we did see in government is that the representative acted professional,
Yeah.
even though they disagreed, they still respected one another in that way. And it set a tone for young people who were coming up to want to get into government. And so when she was acting that way and yelling out and stuff like that, I didn't really appreciate that.
And that is still the office of the president, and that is still,
Yeah.
people like Jefferson and Washington, sat in that office. So,
Right.
there's something to that as well.
Yeah. And I've seen other governments do that in other countries. And when I would see them doing it, I thought they were, this is not the way professional people act, especially with the world looking up on you, right? And so I didn't like, I wasn't, I thought she should not have acted that way.
Okay, I know something that you must have had a lot of laughs about, although you always have a lot of fun on your show. When they drove Kevin McCarthy from office, he spent decades trying to claw his way to that speakership,
Yeah.
and he lasted less than his pregnancy. I think it wasn't even 9 months. You must have had a good chuckle at that.
I was surprised that they were able to get him out, to be honest,
Yeah, me
because
too.
because he was so into that position, man. So I was surprised that they were able to do that. Now when I hear him saying, "Oh, I would have done this and I would have done that," I'm like, "Yeah, right, right." And so yeah, that was pretty interesting to me.
Folks, head on over to malice.locals.com where Jesse will take questions from supporters. If you had the opportunity, who would you love to sit down with for an hour and basically minister to them in the hopes of being able to? Because I think some people you would agree are almost beyond saving, right? Like if you sat down with Barack Obama, you're not getting anywhere with him. But there might be some people who, like, if you sat him down for an hour, you could actually change them to a positive direction. Who would you most want to sit down with in that context?
Um, I don't know of anyone that I want to sit down with and try to change their mind because I've come to realize that most people love their hell. They
Oh
love their
yeah,
misery. They love their misery, right? And
yes.
even God doesn't try to change anyone's mind. You have to want the interchange to happen and cry out for it, and then it'll happen. But I can tell you who I would love to interview would be the guy that owned X. What's his name?
Elon
Elon
Musk.
Musk. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and the Great White Hope.
So, Jesse, Elon follows me on X, so he is going to watch or at least see this interview. So it's not impossible that that will happen. I haven't communicated with him yet. I've been at events with him, but my God, I would love to, because you were just on my good friend Roseanne's show.
Yeah.
And I was very delighted to see the meeting of the minds between the two of you. I'm sure you had as positive an impression of her as I'd had.
It was an amazing discussion. It was like mind blowing, man. And since then, she and I become friends and we text and we talk to each other now. But it was an amazing interview. But if you could get me on Tucker, you would be next to Donald Trump.
That just makes me Mike Pence. I don't want to be Mike Pence. They're gonna hang me.
What's his name? Yeah, if you get me Elon Musk, man, that would be amazing. I would want to know him. I want to know why he's so smart. Where did he come from? How did that happen? How was he able to overcome? I would just really want to know.
Would you tell him that he's your favorite African American?
Elon, Elon Musk, you are my favorite African American. You are the real deal. You are the real deal. So come on my show. I just want to understand you. I want to know. I want to learn. Amazing. So I would really appreciate that, Michael.
What is the biggest, if you could give your audience, people listening to you, like one piece of advice, what is the most important piece of advice you think you have to offer?
They must forgive.
Yeah.
The kingdom of heaven is inside of us. And every human being that has anger is evil. God said not to trust an angry person, no matter if it's your family member, husband and wife, your children, your so-called friends, or anyone. Anyone that has anger is evil, and they also have fear. And I would want to encourage them to get to know themselves, what's going on inside. Go and forgive their mothers. Every human being must forgive his mother, his or her mother, because that hell comes through the mother. And when you forgive your mother, return to your father. Forgive your father because he didn't know how to handle your mother. He was attracted to what he hated. So he loved the children. He just couldn't deal with the mother. But they must go and apologize for being angry. Forgiveness means I'm sorry for judging you. I realize now you couldn't help yourself. God will forgive you and he will change your heart from anger to love, and he will give you a clear mind. Our battle is, in closing, our battle is a spiritual battle. It's not about color. It's not about white supremacy or anti-Semitism and none of that mess. It's good versus evil. And we all must return to the Father, every human being, if they want perfect peace. And you can literally live here on earth in perfect peace if you let go of the anger and live from within.
But let me ask, as you would say, let me ask,
Ask.
how do you not have anger when you see the things some people are doing to innocent children? And I don't even have to mention them, but things that are horrific being done to kids by their own family members as we speak. How do you hear stories like this and not react with enormous anger?
Because I know that it's evil working through the people who are doing these
Yeah.
things. And I know that it's not their fault and that it's evil working through them. And I know that it's a responsibility of the parent to protect the children, but the parents don't love the children either. So they put them out there for these things to happen. And I understand it's just not them, but it's something else that's driving them. I don't agree with what's happening, but I can't get mad at them. I can't judge them because forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Even God doesn't judge them for doing it because all of our sins have been wiped away. But most people don't know that their thoughts are not their own, their emotions are not their own. They have identified with it, and that's what's driving them. And all thoughts and all emotions are evil, and most people don't know that.
Jesse, we're running out of time. What has
Yeah.
been your favorite part of this interview?
Your good questions, your sense of humor, and your ability to love what's right. And I totally appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Pluto TV has over 300 channels and thousands of TV shows and movies for whatever mood you're in. Just open the app and something good will already be playing because it's curated by people who love TV as much as you do. So if you're in the mood for comedy, there's 18 channels that'll make you laugh. Looking for drama? We got so much of it, you'll cry tears of joy. Reality shows, game shows, sports, Star Trek, and even more Star Trek. No matter what mood you're in, there's something on Pluto TV. Just download the app and start streaming. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.